At first, it looks like just another boring Senate hearing. But then Senator John Kennedy asks one simple question, and suddenly the entire room changes. He does not need to shout. He does not need a long speech. He asks a question so direct that avoiding it becomes the answer. Whether it is inflation, gas prices, interest rates, old tweets, or past writings, Kennedy follows the same pattern every time. He listens carefully. He waits. Then he pulls the witness back to the exact point they are trying to escape. And that is where the pressure starts. Because the more complicated the answer becomes, the more powerful Kennedy's simple question feels. Watch closely, because the real moment is not when he speaks loudly. It is when he pauses. That silence makes everyone uncomfortable. And then comes the line that makes the clip go viral. Because in that moment, it no longer feels like politics. It feels like someone is finally asking the question everyone at home wanted answered.
Sure.
Thank you, Senator Butler. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Wise, you're not being honest with us, are you?
That is incorrect.
Well, we all may be poorer under President Biden, but we're not stupid. We have a long list of your articles and your opinions and your political statements. On March 8, 2017, you wrote an article for Time magazine while you were a sitting judge. It's entitled Judge, Gender Laws Are at Odds with Science. I'm going to quote your words. When legislators blur the lines of church and state and enact laws that permit or prohibit conduct based on biological gender as only male or female, they place an impossible burden on the judiciary. End quote. Did I read that accurately?
I do not know because I don't have the article in front of me.
Well, I do. You also said in that article, quote, your words, not mine, sex has countless natural permutations, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe that is consistent with medical science and under the Daubert standard, the science that comes in as expert testimony in trials.
On October 13, 2020, while you were serving as a state judge, you wrote an article for The Atlantic entitled, quote, your words, not mine, America's judiciary doesn't look like America. And you criticized this committee and President Trump for his judicial nominees. You said, quote, these are your words, not mine. The judiciary crafted over the past 4 years does not look like America. Not one of these judges is black, and more than 90% were raised or currently identify as Christians. I don't know how you knew that. And then you say, quote, your words, not mine. Identity is the lens that filters everything and everyone we encounter, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
Again, I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
I got it right here. You wrote another article on July 31, 2020 for the San Francisco Daily Journal, in which you advocate for the right of sitting judges to be able to go to protests, didn't you?
That is incorrect.
No, it's not. I'm looking at it right here. This is what you say. No judge should be ethical. Your words, not mine. You just said you didn't say them. You turned these articles over. No judge should be ethically constrained from speaking or taking action that reinforces that constitutional and moral imperative. May judges participate in demonstrations that denounce racism, support equal justice, and reinforce our constitutional rights to free speech and peaceable assembly? Yes. End quote. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know because I don't have the article in front of me.
If you're a federal judge, are you going to go to protests?
I would like to answer the substance of the underlying question that was asked.
I'd like you to answer my question. I've only got another minute or so. If you're a federal, let me put it another way. Have you ever gone to a protest, a public protest, while you're a sitting judge?
Senator Kennedy, the article that you are referring to
Have you ever
was
gone
written...
to a protest while you're a sitting judge?
I do not believe that I have ever attended a protest as a sitting judge, or perhaps ever in my life.
And you talk about Girls Inc. You say you've never heard of them. You were on the, or you don't know that much about them. You were on the board from 2014 to 2024. You're still on their board, aren't you?
I'm not. My term expired this last month.
And you've given them over $50,000, haven't you?
I do not believe that is correct.
That's what your report says. And this is the same Girls Inc. that says, quote, on its website, here's how they define girls. Quote, girls refers to gender-expansive youth, cis girls, trans girls, non-binary youth, gender and non-conforming youth, genderqueer youth, and any girl-identified youth. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know. I've never heard of that policy or that definition
Right. You
from
never
Girls
heard
Inc.
Listen, in spite of your, can I just have 30 more seconds? In spite of your strongly held political beliefs, and we've got all of them, all your articles, they're as long as King Kong's are you telling us today, do you believe that you will not allow your strongly held political beliefs to influence your judicial opinions? Do you believe that?
The best evidence of the type of federal judge I will be
Yes,
the
ma'am.
type of
Do you
judge
believe that? Do you believe that?
is the type of judge I have been for 10 years, who is one who always puts the law above my personal
Do you
views.
also believe in Bigfoot? Do you believe in the Tooth Fairy?
Your time has expired, Senator.
Do you believe Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes?
Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for having to miss the testimony of some of you, and I appreciate you coming today. Professor Franks, let me ask you, I listened to your and Ms. Hemingway's testimony and Professor Turley's, so I got part of it. As I understand it, your position, Professor Franks, is that, I think you used the word myth. It is a myth that the Biden administration used government to compel speech, private speech, but that the Trump administration is doing that. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Do you think perhaps you're allowing your personal political beliefs to affect your objectivity here?
No, I do not. What is guiding my answers here is that I'm looking to see what the Supreme Court has said. You notice that in the testimony about the censorship
Okay.
industrial complex.
I got that part.
No, I just
that
want to
part.
clarify.
No, but I've only got 5 minutes. Your answer is no, as I appreciate it. Let me ask you a couple questions. You wrote a law review article in December of 2023 for the New York University Law Review, and it was about the two cases, Bruin, Supreme Court case, and Dobbs. Remember that article?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In this article, you said, I'm going to quote your words, taken together, these two cases demonstrate that the Supreme Court has embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy, end quote. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went on to say, quote, when the Supreme Court declares that there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public. It openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those that they perceive as threats. Close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Thank you for reading.
Okay. And did you also say in that article, I'm going to quote again, quote, by simultaneously expanding white men's right to kill and constricting women's right not to die, this Supreme Court, referring to the current United States Supreme Court, has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact as well, close quote. Did you write that?
That sounds like me.
Okay. In November of 2024, you tweet, don't you?
I'm not sure what the current terminology is for it, but yes, I am sometimes on the social platform that was formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, you're on a lot, aren't you?
I'm not sure what the relevance of that is.
You try to be provocative on there, don't you?
Again, I'm not sure what the relevance
Well,
of this
let
question
me
is.
show you the relevance. On November 7th, 2024, from your tweet, here's one of your tweets at 2:41 p.m. Quote, the majority of Americans hate women. The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy. Close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I am not sure what this has to do with the subject matter of this
Did you
hearing.
say it?
I do not have those words in front of me. I probably said something along those lines, but
Yeah,
what is
you
the
said it.
relevance
Here
of that
it
to
is,
this
big as
hearing?
Dallas, right there.
Yes.
But your political beliefs don't impact your feelings about President Biden or President Trump.
I don't have feelings about either of them. What I have
Sounds
is
to me
doctrine.
like you have your favorite feeling is anger. Let me ask you this. You issued another tweet. This was in May of 2022. You've just been tweeting up a storm. You said, quote, there's a reason why the conservative-dominated Supreme Court thinks the Constitution does not contain a right to an abortion, but is convinced that it contains an individual right to possess firearms. And that reason is white male supremacy, close quote. Did I read that correctly?
Is there a question in this?
Did I read that correctly? That's
Is there
my
a question that is relevant to this hearing?
Did I read that correctly? Do you really think that the United States Supreme Court, you're an officer of the court, is guided by white male supremacy?
I believe that the First Amendment prohibits the president
Did you
and other
say
state
that?
officials for punishing people for
Did
their
you honestly say that, Professor?
I
And you
believe
expect us,
that the First
as a
Amendment,
Democratic witness, to take you seriously? Are you kidding me?
I believe that you should take
You
the First
heard of
Amendment
curb your
seriously, sir.
enthusiasm? Here's my saying, curb my nausea.
I
Thank you.
believe that you
The
should take the
time
First
has
Amendment
expired. Thank
seriously.
you. Senator Durbin.
I'm going to talk for a few minutes about tariffs and inflation. What does history tell us about tariffs and its impact on inflation or deflation?
So the thing is, we've been through a long period in which tariffs were going down. Remember, since World War II, really, it's been a process of lowering tariffs globally. So there just isn't a lot of modern learning on that. I think people look at the incidence of tariffs during the president's first term, but those were like 1/6 the size of what's people are estimating now. And they do find some effects on inflation. But remember, in 2019, when those tariffs were put into place, the economy was slowing. We actually cut rates 3 times. Inflation was running at 1.5%. So it was a very different time. This is different. I think one of the reasons why it's so challenging is that there really isn't a modern precedent. Yeah. And I think we have to be humble about our estimates. And we are very open to the possibility that transmission through into inflation will be less than we think, or maybe more than we think, which is why we're in a position of wanting to take our time and make a smart decision as we see how this unfolds.
Well, obviously, the size of the tariffs makes a difference, does it not?
It does.
And we don't know yet the size of the tariffs.
We don't. And we don't have a view on any of the merits at all. That's not our job. Our job is inflation, as you know, and maximum employment.
Will it also matter, let's assume that there is upward price pressure, would it matter how much businesses decide to pass on versus just eat? Does that make sense?
Yes, that matters. That is what matters. You know, the question is who's going to pay for the tariffs. Originally, it's the importer, but it gets passed along through the distribution chain to some extent to the consumer. The ultimate question of it is how much of it does show up in inflation. And honestly, it's very hard to predict that in advance. So we're watching to see, you know, what shows up in measured inflation.
If the president's trade negotiators pursue reciprocity, which I define as both sides reducing, in a quid pro quo, reducing tariffs and trade barriers as much as possible. Ideally, in a perfect world, we would end up with two sides with zero tariffs and zero trade barriers. Would that be inflationary?
No, not at all.
That would cause the economy to roar, wouldn't it?
I think it would be.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your endorsement, Mr. Chairman, of the reconciliation bill. I want extra time, Mr. Chairman.
I know, sir. I know.
Consider these 5 minutes a parliamentary inquiry. Professor, what's a sock puppet?
I heard the reference from Senator Warren.
Yeah,
earlier.
what is it?
I'm not sure I know. I think it's that thing you stick your hand in.
Yeah, kind of like this.
Yes.
What's a human sock puppet? Isn't a human sock puppet somebody will do what somebody else tells them to do?
I think that's what the senator was trying to suggest. I think that
gonna
was
be
the innuendo.
Are you going to be the president's human sock puppet?
Senator, absolutely not.
Are you going to be anybody's human sock puppet?
No, I'm honored the president nominated me for the position, and I'll be an independent actor if confirmed as chairman of the Federal Reserve.
My friend Senator Warren, and she, as my friend, suggested that, I wrote it down, you will use your power, you might use your power to bail out your friends if they get in trouble, kind of like President Biden did with Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. She didn't say the last part, I just did. Are you going to do that?
No, Senator.
Okay. The ethics folks, they've cleared you, but they've said you've got to sell some assets. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And these assets that you have, you can't just hold a yard sale, can you?
No, not for most of them, sir.
Okay, so it takes a reasonable period of time, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've promised to sell them, right?
I did.
And if you don't sell them, we'll know and the ethics folks will know, right?
Yes, I'd be in violation of the ethics agreement if I refuse to sell them.
But you're going to sell them, right?
Yes, Senator, I will.
Okay. Can we agree that politicians have the right to offer you advice about what to do with interest rates?
Senator, we can agree, and it's not something that I would shy away from. I've heard many senators from this very committee in years past express strong views on interest rates.
Okay.
Humble central bankers should be listening and then making their own decisions.
But some politicians matter more than others. And generally speaking, presidents matter, their opinion matters more than, say, a senator. President Trump has offered his opinion about what you ought to do with interest rates. Is that right?
Senator, he has not made his opinion on that a secret to anybody.
Yeah. And every president has that you're aware of.
Yes, and they all tend to be in the same direction, Senator Kennedy.
Okay. Now, the problem is, can we agree that your credibility as Fed chairman is the most important thing you have?
It's the most important thing to me, it's the most important thing to the institution, and it's the most important thing to the successful conduct of policy.
Okay.
If the markets
that's a yes, right?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. The problem is that President Trump has said he's not going to appoint anybody who wouldn't agree to lower interest rates. Have you agreed with the president that you're going to lower interest rates?
Senator, I'm glad you framed it that way. The president never asked me to predetermine, commit, fix, decide on any interest rate decision in any of our discussions, nor would I ever agree to do so.
So the president has never sat you down, looked you in the eye, and said, here's the deal, Scooter. I'm going to appoint you, but you got to agree to lower interest rates. That didn't happen, or did happen?
The president never once asked me to commit to any particular interest rate decision, period, and nor would I ever agree to do so if he had, but he never did. I was honored he nominated me. Like everyone else in the committee in the world, I've heard his view on interest rates. It sounded very similar to me to every other president in economic history that I've studied.
Okay. I've got one more question because I'm about to run out of my parliamentary inquiry time. I've heard your argument the last few months about artificial intelligence has made us so productive, labor so productive that companies don't have to raise prices. Therefore, inflation isn't a problem. Therefore, rates can be cut. Do you really believe that right now?
No, that is not how I would characterize the story on AI.
Okay, but you've said what I just said, haven't you?
I have said that this is the most disruptive moment in modern economic history in the U.S. and the world. I've said that artificial intelligence, AI, short
Okay,
for
let me
American
stop you
ingenuity,
because
can have a big
the
effect.
chair's going to cut me off.
Oops, sorry.
Here's my worry, that a lot of this stuff about artificial intelligence making us more productive is a bunch of hype by people who want to sell stock in an IPO. Okay, I'd be careful there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I think you've got a big brain, too. I don't know when the price of gas is going to come down either. If I did, I'd go play that thing called the poly market. Okay? I happen to believe that the conflict with Iran was necessary. The people we're dealing with Charles Manson, and you can't give him a nuclear weapon, and that's why we had to go Catwoman on Iran. But the American people are not stupid. They get it. I'm going to be very brief, but first, I would like you to introduce, if you would, the big brains behind you.
Oh, thank you. They deserve a lot of credit.
Turn your mic on for me, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Well, I got a lot of the team here, starting with General Counsel on the right there, John Brightbill. The CFO team, led by Tina, right here on the end, who was in the Department of War before coming over to join our team.
Thank you for your service.
Lawyers or whatever. Chief of Staff, Congressional Affairs, Carl Coe and Brian.
Okay. For what it's worth, here's what I think. Mr. Secretary, I think you've got a big brain, too. I'm reading your book. I'm not finished. I give 10 pages here and 5 pages there. As best I can tell, and this impresses me, you believe in all forms of energy so long as those forms are reasonably priced, accessible to the American people, and they work. And I happen to agree with you. Here's my plan for the budget for what it works, for what it's worth. As you know, we have a $30 trillion deficit. Every one of my colleagues up here is well aware of that, and we want to try to reduce it. I was very proud of what our work demonstrated last time in the current budget. We were able to reduce spending and accommodate just about everybody's interests vis-a-vis the last budget. We were able to reduce spending adjusted for inflation 2.7%. That's going to be very hard this time. Not impossible, and I want to aim for it. And I think everybody, all of my colleagues up here on both sides of the aisle want to aim for it. But we're going to spend more money on defense. And some of that money, not all of that money, is going to come out of non-defense spending. Okay. My goal is to craft an energy and water budget that looks like somebody designed it on purpose. Everybody's opinion counts, and that includes, but is not limited to, my Democratic colleagues. I want to try to work it out. It's going to require a little compromise on the part of all of us. I want to get started. I talked to Senator Collins yesterday, and now I'm talking to the vice chair who's here listening to me. I want to get started now. On a personal note, doesn't require your comment, two things. I don't know when the price of gas is going to come down either. If I did, I'd go play that thing called the poly market. Okay? I happen to believe that the conflict with Iran was necessary. The people we're dealing with Charles Manson, and you can't give him a nuclear weapon, and that's why we had to go Catwoman on Iran, but I think we're pretty close to being done. I don't think the president's going to send in troops. When the conflict ends, the price of gas will come down. I don't know how fast. I don't know why it is. Probably has something to do with the traders. You folks would know that better than I do. But the price goes up quicker than it comes down. But the American people are not stupid. They get it. They understand when we have conflicts in the Middle East affects the price of energy. Number two, or whatever the hell it is. I have great respect for Senator Schumer. I like Iris, his wife, better, but I like Chuck. He is a shrewd negotiator. He did the right thing for America last March when we were in the shutdown and helped us get out of a shutdown. He got beaten bloody by a big portion of his party. In fact, they cut him up so bad, all they have left to work on is scar tissue. I'm really worried that Chuck's going to shut down government again right before the midterms. I hope I'm wrong. I hope my colleagues will talk to him and try to convince him that would be a bad thing to do. But I want to get ready for it. I don't want to stop our work on our budget. I want to go full speed ahead. But I deal with the world as it is, not as I want it to be. None of that requires comment. Okay? In fact, my advice to you is to stay away with this business of how fast the price of gas is going to come down. Okay, I don't want to get off on that tangent. Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Secretary, I think you're one of President Trump's best appointments. And I'm very impressed with the team that you put together. And I hope you're all willing to serve a long, long, long time. I agree with my friend Senator Coons. I think we need to look ahead. But I would be remiss if I didn't say this. As I might have mentioned before, I used to have a beagle named Roger. Loved him to death. He passed after 15, got a lot of years with him. But Roger, like all the beagles, would run off. He was incorrigible. And sometimes he'd come back a roadkill. And he'd hide it under my back porch. And what I saw in the last 30 days at the Department of Energy under the past administration looked like something Roger kept under my back porch. $78 billion, not million, $1 billion, as best I can remember, was shoveled out the door. And y'all had to clean it up. I'm not saying they were all bad grants and loans, but I'm saying a bunch of them were. And I just couldn't let that go without saying it. Now, I thought I heard you say, correct me if I'm wrong, that you see in our near future small modular nuclear reactors. Can you elaborate on that, or did I misunderstand you?
No, you are correct, Senator. Under one of President Trump's executive orders last year was to see if we could get small modular reactors, next generation reactor designs, critical, meaning running the full nuclear system by July 4 of this year, our nation's 250th birthday. And I sit here today, we still have 2.5 months for that date, but I believe we will have multiple small modular reactors critical, meaning running their full nuclear system before July 4 this year. I could not be more excited about that. This is a next generation of nuclear energy where when you can build things small, meaning build as much as possible inside factories, you can drive down costs, you can drive up efficiencies. I think we truly are going to launch a nuclear renaissance during this administration. I think it's going to have enormous benefits around our country. I couldn't be more excited about it. And I could go on forever, so I'll stop.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Look, this is not a news flash. To some extent, our grid is a mess. We've made some strides in clean energy, wind, solar. We can't get them hooked up. You didn't father that child, but you got to raise it. What are we doing? What can Congress do to help?
I think there's challenges.
Do we need more transformers? What's the problem?
We need more transformers. We need more switchgear. We need more electrical equipment and electrical steel built in the United States, which is part of our supply chain efforts to build more of these equipments here. We need to apply artificial intelligence to these grid studies that you have to do when you put a new source on. They take years. That's crazy. But with artificial intelligence and I think some more common sense regulation, we're going to speed up these grid studies dramatically and prioritize of all the things that have their hand in the air to connect to the grid, which ones are going to be effective and reliable and improve the operation of the grid and help drive down the prices, and how can we get them approved and actual connection as quickly as possible.
My last question is about AI and quantum computing. Look, I'm very proud what American companies have done in artificial intelligence. I do think we're ahead of China, and what people don't like to talk about in China is AI is supposed to tell you the truth. In China, AI can tell you the truth, except they can't criticize the Chinese government. In the long run, that's going to bite them on the elbow. I support AI. I think it's going to make our lives better if it doesn't kill us first. I don't know what to believe about AI. A lot of the smart people talking about AI also are trying to sell an IPO. And I'm not saying they're not telling the truth, but I think they're trying to sell an IPO. I would strongly encourage you and your team the American people are plenty smart, but they're busy earning a living, to try to explain to them in basic terms, and frankly to Congress, how AI can be applied to energy production to make it more affordable and more efficient. Most Americans understand artificial intelligence, at least the general concept. They just don't know what the hell to do with it. And you don't need to comment on that, but you and the big brain sitting behind you, if you could do that for the American people, just centered on energy, and frankly do that for the members of Congress, you